See if we get any takers. Time to revamp the website, change the program as a whole. If nobody shows up, this will be the dumbest recording ever. If nobody shows up, it won't be a recording. You guys will never know about it. Nobody to talk to. Does it really notify people? I'm no YouTube connoisseur of content creation. New thing going, the NeuroTrauma project, created to consistently push me towards learning about the neuroscience of trauma, because I think that's the most important thing in treatment, and that you can become your own NeuroTrauma project if you want to, led by a bearded doctor. I highly recommend it, although it's my mom that says I'm cute, so. Soon to go live with this. I feel like I should type in there to skip to a certain point. A few people hanging out. Just hanging out with me while I revamp the website. It's time for a change. So, figures a good reason to answer questions, or read smart comments, or hear negative things. Who knows? With live. Man, that is way down on the screen. Lava number 1. Good to see you. We're just hanging out because I'm supposed to be. Omar's here. I'm working on my website, and I'm easily distractible. So maybe time to do a Q&A. Scotland, that's awesome. I don't know that I've had a lot of Scotland. Just see if anybody's got any questions. I'm revamping my site, and it's something called the NeuroTrauma project. Consistently remind me to learn more and more about the neuroscience of trauma, which I think is the most important thing. Hey, Lump, thank you. It's the most important thing, and then you can become your own NeuroTrauma project. I recommend it be led by a bearded doctor, but I'm biased. So, but hey, now's a good time for questions. Yes, my beard's real. Yes, I'm outside in my favorite spot in the world. It's the first decently warm day. Meld is here, hello. For those that haven't followed before, it's just popping up on their live. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I specialize in treating complex trauma, mostly with EMDR, but definitely on the neurobiological, neuroscience side of treatment. So every now and then, Stephen Johnson, good man. I hope you're good too. Every now and then, I like to jump on and let people bounce questions. Being a fairly anonymous way for you to ask questions sometimes helpful when you're dealing with trauma or curious about EMDR therapy. This NeuroTrauma project is going to be a much longer program than just one-on-ones. It's going to be a 12-week program that's purchasable at the beginning. Really push you to get better. I think you have to hit trauma from all different avenues. It is past, it is present, and it is future. I think a lot of therapists today despite claiming to be trauma informed, whatever that actually means, because there's no regulation for it. That Red's here, Shalom, good to see you. That they like to talk about the past and they don't change anything about the present or the future. They just let you sit in that old stuff, which has to be processed. They'll just let you sit in that old stuff. So I did a speech this weekend at an amazing event called the Refuge Ruckus in Arkansas. It was a fundraiser, and they did well. A fundraiser for Caleb House, which is a rescue and restorative house for trafficked women and children. You can use your own imagination about what all that means. It's an awesome group of people. And getting up, and I speak all over the nation, but getting up and talking about the neuroscience of this really motivated me to make a big change in how I'm going to approach this on the online side. I have a traditional office in Kentucky as a psychotherapist where I specialize in complex trauma and the neuroscience side of it all, especially. But I'm wanting to revamp how things are online. I've been disappointed with. People always get results, but I've been disappointed with trying to find a way to better results by an all-encompassing method. So the 12-week neuroscience trauma project begin. Then you're going to see a massive change to the website. I know I missed you. I missed ATS. I've listened to. I've had a link to all the speeches, so I've been able to listen to those, which has been really motivational as always. But ended up having a public safety emergency here that I couldn't leave. So up until the day before, I was still going to be there. I think it was the day before. And then we got some pretty tragic news about some public safety folks here. So as much as I wanted to see all you guys and hang out with like-minded people and learn, I was definitely needed here. God made that very clear. That there was a very important reason that I had to miss. It's the first one I ever missed. Been there. This was year 5, I think. Been there the last 4 years since the beginning. Makes me an OG of the ATS program. That's the greatest name. I report bots because YouTube is too lazy to. That's a full-time job, my friend. A full-time job. But hey, welcome. Report them all. If people would just read, I think some of the comments sometimes and see how generic they are, how AI generated they are. And then, of course, how everybody hides behind, not their real identity. While some of us, it's clearly on the screen. Yeah, I'm glad it was good, Red. I'm glad. I always get, like I said, I've got a link to the speeches, so that's to the recording, so that's been nice. I listened to that the whole way home from the ruckus, which should have taken me 11 hours and took me 15, I think. I got home at 5 in the morning. I was pooped. Drove back into town at 5 a.m. I will say, though, I do miss traffic of third shift. I worked third shift for 15 out of my 20 years in government, and man, I do miss having no traffic on the road. It was just me and the truck drivers, who seemed to be falling asleep a lot, but it was me and the truck drivers. No dig on them. That's a hard job. But about 4 a.m., you could tell some of them weren't doing well. If you're just joining in, I'm a psychotherapist in practice. I treat complex PTSD mostly with EMDR, but very heavily on the neuroscience side of it all. I'm in the process of revamping my website. I'm going to launch it, I don't know, later today or tomorrow. Kind of depends on if I get all the bugs worked out. There's always weird stuff you have to do, man. Things that don't work, or things you need to reword, things that you thought would catch people's attention and doesn't. So there's always something going on. Actually, yeah. I don't know how YouTube feels about cursing, but I think that's a great comment. Yeah, NeuroTrauma. Feels like my name too. which is exactly how I got into this. 20 years, really. Man, I was just talking to an employee of mine. I started volunteering in EMS when I was 16 years old, and I turned 46 this year, which means I've been around critical trauma for 30 years this summer. That's crazy. I don't even like to admit that it's been that long, but I've been around either 20 years of responding to those and 10 years of treating those that deal with the traumas, whether it be in their own life, in their career, military. Um, yeah, I have absolutely felt like that is my middle name before. Thankfully, 10 years of doing this has taught me a lot. 10 years of treating people with complex PTSD, especially on that neuro side, has taught me a lot. Definitely healed. I definitely have to remind myself to use my own stuff sometimes, right? Good to see you, Lebowski. Yeah, I do feel more old, a little more gray. A little more gray in the beard. I beat my dad though. I think he was fully gray by like 35. So I held on to it a little bit. But you know, I hear it shows wisdom, so I'm gonna leave it. Life can definitely feel like a cruel punishment, but I don't want to be stuck here with that. So um, it's exactly how I felt 10 years ago. That very well sums up how I felt 10 years ago. Just dealing with nothing but constant trauma, constant negativity, and how it affected the way that I see myself, other people in the world. And sadly, we can't solve it in one life, but there is absolutely a better way. There's absolutely a better life. If you'd have told me 10 years ago that I'd have been a therapist, I'd have laughed at you because I wouldn't have even gone to him 10 years ago, which is exactly why I went to school for it, to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. Because that's exactly how I felt 10 years ago. And unfortunately, I tried the regular routes of therapists, coaches, life coaches, trauma coaches, self-help, bullshit, all of it. Um, I don't think those people individually are terrible, but so many people talk about knowing how to treat trauma, and they learned it in a weekend training session. That doesn't sound informed to me. Not in any way, shape, or form. You've got to get in there and rewire all that shit. Literally rewire. Trauma rewired your brain. It's going to take science to rewire it again. Hey, Cindy, good to see you. Blunted affect. That's probably one of the number one things that people reach out to me or come to my office for. I don't really, I don't think people come in and talk about the 5 diagnosable symptoms for PTSD. If they do, they're probably on WebMD too much. What they come in for is anger, anxiety, depression, guilt, ADHD feelings, marriages falling apart, sadness not healing, blunted affect. The big thing to keep in mind is a lot of people think that our brain and that we toyed around our little big supercomputer out just sitting with the spawns, that we get information in there and then we spit out an outcome. And maybe prefrontal cortex world, thinking world, making bigger decisions, maybe. Um, but most of the time, your brain is actually not responding, it's predicting. Your brain is predicting. And you get information from your 5 senses about right now. That's all it knows, right now. It's aware of the past, but all it knows is right now. And your brain makes a prediction based on your past experiences, good and bad, about what's going on and what do we need to do about it. And it reacts immediately, right? Think about it. Your brain's primary function is to keep your ass alive, to keep you safe. So it's going to constantly make predictions as fast as possible. And some of them are no big deal. If you walk up to a door, you know how to work a doorknob. But how many of those predictions put you in this blunted affect? How many of those predictions make you react? Hypervigilant, overly emotional. The other way to look at blunted affect is it's probably kept you safe at some point, right? Not being constantly in danger or feeling constantly in danger or reacting in a certain way has probably served you in your past. There's not a person that I talk to on here, online, or in my office that doesn't have some kind of trauma in their life. No comparison. Whether it's childhood trauma, whether it's neglect or worse, whether it's you made it to 25 where something horrible happened. Everybody's got stuff, whether it's that big trauma people think about, like car crashes, or whether it's the type of trauma that's just adverse life events, divorces and dads leaving and parents divorcing, and never feeling loved, never feeling worth anything, never feeling like you had any value. Of course, that's how you interpret things now. How could you not? That's what your brain does, is interpret things. It makes a prediction based on your past experience about what this means and what you're going to do about it. So the blunted affect has probably protected you in the past and is probably, I only say probably because I don't know your specific situation. I'll tell you this is all the time in my world. It's probably protected you, and it's probably keeping you from overreacting now, so that you don't act the way you did before. Or at least you don't attract the actions of other people the way you did before, by being overreactive, or by being too emotional. So you have to teach yourself new predictions. You have to expand the predictions that your brain is thinking and that it's making. So to expose yourself to some of those things that normally might be uncomfortable. You have to expose yourself to understanding that the past is not present. That's what trauma does. It makes the past present. So you're going to have to expand those horizons. You have to expand the predictions. Let your brain see that sometimes it works out okay, that you don't have to stay blunted, that you don't have to stay in danger mode all the time. There's ways you can do that yourself. I highly recommend EMDR therapy. It changed my life, changed the lives of people who sit across from me every day, because your brain is still in that emergency mode. Remission schizophrenia is no joke. No joke, especially on that biochemical side. I'm asking a 10-year-old daughter that needs some rewiring. All the therapists and psychologists that we've taken in the past just want to drug her. Well, that's why I do what I do, because it's exactly what I found. Either they relied solely on that, or they acted as if I was so jacked up they didn't know what to do. And maybe for them I was. Your willingness to call yourself a therapist, and a trauma-informed therapist at that, and not have ways to make people better other than teaching them to take 5 deep breaths. Not for me, man. Not for me. You actually have to get in there and deal with that stuff. That rewiring, as you kind of put in the quotes, and I've said before, that comes from things like EMDR therapy. That comes from things like neuro-based therapies. Yes, talk therapy absolutely has its place. I'm highly certified in talk therapy from a very prestigious institute in New York City, and it absolutely has its place. But when you need rewiring, talk will get you started. It'll get you started. You're going to have some of those somatic experiences, just like I was telling the last person. Yeah, I see that all the time. I wish I could say I didn't. Moments of trauma, I go completely numb. Now it's crazy maybe to stay calm. Yeah. Yeah, why does your brain want to go through that shit all the time? Why does your brain want to go through that shit all the time? Why does it always want to be an emergency? Some people are in a situation where they can immediately fight back. Some people are in a situation where they just immediately get out of there. If this started when you were young, think about it. Something horrible happens to you and you push away the person that you thought loved you and took care of you. And then you realize you can't take care of yourself because you're 7. And so you have to bring them back in. How do you do that? You're numb. You fake the happiness. You fake the love. You bring them back in. So why wouldn't your brain do that now? It's to always have that blunted affect, which can be a chemical issue too. But on the therapy side, on the trauma side, your brain doesn't want to deal with all that trauma. You don't want to. So why wouldn't it numb out? Doesn't feel healthier. It's not necessarily healthier, but it's safe. The therapy is called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Highly recommend it. Big adventure. I'm an anger-aholic myself. I always tell people anger is my superpower, man. I still have to watch it. If it wasn't for being broke and unemployed, living with my mom, I'd be drunk every day. I hate that is the motivation that you got stuck with, because that doesn't sound like a pleasant thing. But you and I both know, you said it there, anger-aholic. You and I both know being drunk every day is it's not serving you physically, mentally, outside physically, inside physically, dealing with other people. It's not working. It's not working. That's why eventually people know they got to slow down. And I'm not an anti-alcohol therapist. I like to sit on this porch right here and have a nice bourbon and a cigar. And why do we drink? It works. It works. It takes us out of the situation. It's not a healthy way, but it can take us out of the situation. Cindy said the best word I ever got was that it was okay to see myself as not okay. Yeah. Why don't you start finding the path? Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, 10 years ago, those that are on here that know my story, 10 years ago, I wanted nothing to do with the psychology world. And it was because I think maybe I wouldn't have said these words at the time. I just thought they were weak. But, and some are, sadly. But I didn't think anything was wrong with me. I knew that I was messed up. I knew that I was in a bad place. But I'm an anger-aholic, man. Yeah. Uh, I'm good at it. It's my superpower, and it feels like it does good sometimes, but it feels like shit 15 minutes later, doesn't it? So yeah, it's okay. It's okay to recognize that you're not okay. How are you going to get better? You don't go to the doctor if you're well. I don't. I barely when I go and I'm sick. Good. Look into it, please. EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's like anything else, man. You're going to find people out there that say they do it and they do a terrible job of it because they went to a training class and they tried it a few times, and you get to find one who's competent. Um, that, that being said, I don't know the necessary way to do that, but there are competent ones out there. There are competent ones out there that pour ourselves into getting people better because we've lived that life. I've been around trauma scenes and helped people heal with trauma for 30 years now. 30 years this summer. Highly recommend it. But that being said, if you go to one and they stink, go somewhere else. It's your mental health. Go somewhere else. See, there you go, big adventure. Like just finding a competent person to give some psychoeducation sometimes. Realize that you're not all jacked up, although we all are a little bit. Yeah, I don't expect it to change everything. Certainly not. This is just a gateway to figuring out what to do next. Always glad to provide information. Also, I was tired of working on my website, so I just opened my phone instead. About to hear my long distant neighbor's dog about to be yelled at, I think. It's nice to be in the country, but every now and then, I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a dog in trouble. So, but hey, I'll keep answering any questions that I can. Stays interesting enough, maybe I'll keep the recording. I don't know. It's tough. I think it's tough to watch these back sometimes, unless I do a live where I have something to say for a few minutes first. I don't have anything prepared. I'm just working on my website and I'm doing it all day and I'm kind of bored with it. Although it's interesting, but it'll take a toll on you, won't it? All the little intricacies that you have to get done. Any other takers? I'll stick around for a few more minutes. Trauma, EMDR questions. My website is going to completely change. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I don't know how comfortable I am with it yet. Totally changing the way we do things in the online side of mental health, because doing the one-on-ones is great with people, but we need to ramp up. Anybody can do a one-on-one. There's a billion coaches and people that have been through stuff that take a weekend class out there, and I love them. I appreciate that they're trying, but one of these days, those folks are going to open a wound that they can't close in somebody. And I got friends that are coaches. I think they're good people, but if it gets more than they can handle, man, I just don't want to get. I don't want to get themselves hung up. I don't want them to make anybody worse. So still got a few people around. I'll answer any more trauma, PTSD, EMDR questions. How to grow a beard? No, that's a joke. I don't know. Just let it grow. I worked for the government for 20 years. I had to shave every single day of my life, and I'm not going to do it anymore. I was the guy. I had permanent. Oh man, I'm gonna mess something up. Permanent razor burn. So now we're setting up 15-minute free consultation calls to see if you'd be interested in the 12-week program of getting better. It's actually from an actual doctor who has 30 years of working with trauma. Oh, thanks, Tobias. That's always appreciative. It's always nice to know that stuff lands. YouTube world and Facebook world and Instagram world, there's numbers, right? There's views, there's insights, there's people that react to your stuff. But that's only information you get. So, I say what I say because I mean it, and because it's well researched, and because I've seen it help people, including myself. So it is always nice to hear that that those things land, that those insights and videos land. It does actually motivate me to do more. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a fairly large YouTube speaker, I guess, on here, and realizing I need to do a little bit better job of content. I spend a lot of my time treating people, a lot of time every week treating people. So maybe a little better job promoting the brand here, or helping people a picture at a time. But that's cool. Germany. I've never been to Germany. I'd like to. One profile. I'd like to go maybe, I don't know, some kind of big anniversary. Like anniversary of my family or anniversary of a big event. I just watched a video where a former tier 1 guy went and parachuted, is that the right word? Jumped into for a D-Day. For a D-Day memorial. Said the German people were super awesome to him. Man, that's been a lot of years, hasn't it? You think about it. World War II. Ecclesiastes 1:18. I'm definitely a Bible person, but I'm not a Bible memorizer. I'll have to look that one up. Say something funny. Not a comedian, I'm a therapist. Let me tell you a dad joke. That's the only things I got. It's the first time I've heard PTBS. That's funny. There you go. Big Adventures got you covered. Yeah, I'm not funny. I've always been a little jealous of like comedians that have that really quick retort. The ones that can do. I like the ones that can do crowd work. They don't know what's coming next. Um, I guess I do that to an extent in my office and online, right? You never know what question's going to come in or what issue's going to come in for treatment, but yeah, I don't have that comedic retort. Most of my humor's too dark for the internet anyway, so that's what you do when you live in trauma. You work in trauma. It's okay. I know I'm not funny. There's no way it cut down to me. I like funny things, but I like to laugh, but yeah, I'm not funny. It's, well, if you're into like super dry humor, probably inappropriate humor, I'm probably pretty funny, but that tends to scare the other therapists and civilians in the world. So, you know, yeah, you're not funny either. Lions Tactical Defense Academy. That dude is addicted to hot dogs and touching other people's hot dogs. And I don't mean that as a euphemism. Like, literally, he likes touching other people's hot dogs. It's the weirdest thing. I've tried to treat him for years. He's jacked up. He's a really good tactical guy. But, um, yeah, man, he's got this affinity for hot dogs and like even little smokies. I don't know, man, it's weird. It's literally not a euphemism for anything else. He just likes touching hot dogs. Weird. Fight, flight, freeze, or funny. Yeah, funny's definitely a defensive mechanism sometimes, right? It's you look you look at on the like self-comfort side, it's kind of nice, right? I think it's one of the reasons that public safety military folks, people deal with trauma all the time. Like we make things funny that might normally look inappropriate, or maybe are inappropriate. I don't know. But um, so we'll make it funny. It's also defense mechanism in the trauma part, right? Maybe you trying to be funny, if that's your go-to in a crisis. You trying to be funny is maybe disarming the other person a little bit. Yeah, trench humor. I definitely identify with trench humor, right? I once got a talking to one of the very gosh, I don't want to admit how long ago this was. My 20 years of public safety that ended 10 years ago. So uh, I'd gone to a horrific murder scene in the city in which I worked, and they're all terrible but horrific because it was a completely innocent person that got robbed and shot, taken away from her family. And at that time, I was still a pretty new graduate. An academy mate and I were standing at the crime scene tape, and of course, all the media showed up. And the only thing that they showed about that academy mate and I was us like laughing at something. And who knows? We clearly weren't laughing at the scene. It's a terrible scene. You turn things into humor, but we're probably telling fart jokes or who knows, probably inappropriate jokes. But we get a little talking to that. That stupid camera is always watching, always watching. There's probably some trench humor going on. I would say it was a terrible thing. I remember the scene well. The hundreds and hundreds of murders I've responded to. Of course, you remember them, but I definitely remember that one. One of the first ones. I remember the first two. Actually, I can tell you exactly where the second one was. Yeah, fight or flight since birth is physically and mentally exhausting. It's no way to be stuck. There are definitely some avenues out, though. I'm sure you've heard that 1,000 times before, though, if you feel like you've been stuck that way from the very beginning. But I promise you, it's not taking medication, and which can help. It's not just taking medication and going and talking to somebody for an hour. You actually have to make some changes. You actually have to rewire that thing. We're in fight or flight for a reason. It's funny, Lions. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good defensive mechanism, especially if he's using it correctly, right? Like if he's really using it to make himself feel better, defensive in kind of in a moment that is stressful. Um, you know, if he's using it that way, then maybe the trauma is not really rearing its ugly head in that way. But uh, but if it's doing nothing but being symptomatic in those situations only, then I don't know, may not be the best defense mechanism. But man, if it's knowing you and yours, that's they're going to be pretty smart ass anyway, right? Yeah, I don't know what happened. Oh, a stupid telemarketer call, voicemail. That's one I won't listen to. What a jerk. Yeah, I prefer right where I'm sitting. So this is my bourbon drinking spot. Yep, like I said, big adventure. Anger's my superpower. I still fight it every day. Nothing like 10 years ago when I was at my worst, but I still fight it every day. That's why my trademark is the angry Viking therapist, not the slightly upset, moderately happy therapist. Literally is my trademark. You can look it up. Yeah, there's a dope hit, a dopamine hit. Absolutely, there is. Your your brain doesn't know the difference between good and bad. Your brain doesn't know the difference between plus or minus. Think about it, because each culture sees different things as good and bad. If we were just biochemically and bioneurologically programmed to know what's good and bad, that's not a real thing. We'd all be the same, right? What your brain knows is dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine and adrenaline, and um, so of course there's a hit to it. The dopamine, in fact, is not the pleasure or doing things that you like necessarily. The dopamine comes when you do things that are hard and you accomplish them, and then your brain is always taking note of what happened right before the dopamine hit because it wants that again, right? Look at crazy stuff like methamphetamine. Who the hell decides to put crap in their body that's made from those chemicals? No, they're chasing that dopamine hit, right? Their brain knows that the last time they did it, they got a huge dopamine hit. So what do they do right before? Um, Whatever was going on right before the dopamine hit, that's what they want to do again. No, I get it, Lions. I know. I won't say that it's as significant these days, but my kids, especially back from my days of being angry 10 years ago, thankfully they were so young. But even now, in small ways, I can see that maybe they're afraid to tell me something. And now it's definitely more disappointment than it is anger, right? They don't want to disappoint me either. But which can be a good teaching tool at times. But my kids aren't cowering in the corner from me. I know yours aren't 100%. Not from you guys. I understand the other side of the story, but literally, it's what you're already doing, right? Literally, it is consistently showing them that they're safe there, that they don't have that danger there, that you love them there. And man, I don't know how long it'll take. It has to be consistent. But the thing that you're doing is in an effect expanding the horizons of the possibilities, right? Our brain constantly make predictions about what this means, what's going on, what it means, and what we have to do. It doesn't make decisions about it. It's not responding to things. If all we do is respond, we'd all get hurt at the most minor things that we don't get hurt from, like physically. Our brain's making a prediction about what's going on and what do we have to do about it. So their prediction's still very small. They have to learn that there's other predictions, right? Just in the same way we did with relationships or danger or going to things. That doesn't mean that we know all the possibilities. It doesn't mean we're going to ignore the negative possibilities. But if my brain knows there's possibilities other than dad being mad, which you just showed him, I'm sure, When it did come up, that's how we change that. We have to, we've got to change the predictions in the brain, or at least give them more options. Yeah, consistent, man. You got it. Yep. Good. I appreciate a big adventure. To be fair, every time I read your name, I think of Pee Wee's Big Adventure, which I'm sure you've heard having that name. He finally passed away, didn't he? So I knew there was no basement in the Alamo. You got to be a little older to get that reference, probably. Yeah, brother, consistency's it. You got to show them. They have to seeing more possibilities doesn't mean we don't still watch out for that. Seeing more possibilities and knowing more possibilities exist out there is what's well lets us take a small look. Hated missing all you guys at ATS this year, but we had a. I was telling somebody earlier in this live, we had a public safety, and literally right before I was leaving, the night before I was leaving for ATS, I was still going to be there, and then we had a big tragedy here in the public safety world where I live, which is one of my primary specialties. So yeah, that was definitely God showing me that I needed to be here. That was clear. Sometimes I think we overstate what we think He's showing us because we want to do something. But man, that was big. I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why it wasn't coming together that I could be there. And then, dang, that phone call. Yep, red world. That's all there is to it. Dang, how expensive are microtechs? That would suck. Bro, that's exactly what you have to do. And I know you're trying hard, man. That's exactly what you have to do, man. Because his next reaction, maybe right now, if he still feels 100% that he's going to get in trouble and you're going to be mad, maybe now that he's at 90%, right? It's not going to be overnight. Maybe it's 90%, and you show him that again, and it's 80%. And you show him that again at 70, and it may not get to zero because life sucks sometimes. People do stupid shit and harmful things, and there's evil. You know all too well. I know your story as much as mine. You know evil's out there, but so it's never going to be zero. I don't even want my kids to be at zero awareness that things can go bad. I just don't want them to be at 99 all the time like we were. Yeah. It's funny. It's exactly what Bear said. I was like, man, I don't know how to describe this. I've been there for 4 years in a row, and I know I'm speaking there, but I just got a call that I can't leave. And of course, you know, knowing Bear, he wasn't going to be upset. If anybody knows well how to follow God's lead, that's that guy, among others. But he said, "Hey, sounds like the Father's got you where He needs you." So it's always nice to hear, though. It's always nice to hear that you read that when you read that correctly. I like it. Enlightened and preparing. I like it. Sounds like an expensive hobby all of a sudden. Let's let's not get confused. I'm definitely not a bike rider. If you need somebody to pick up a car, I'm your guy. But I'm not a cardio machine. I don't know how you guys do it. I I curse the whole time I'm doing cardio, probably the same way somebody would curse lift. Couldn't tell you which one's better. Being the weight that I do. Well, we'll wait a few minutes if there's any more questions or comments that come in. and then maybe I'll actually finish what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. And maybe not. Join late, I'm revamping the entire website, my online website. I've got an office here where I live, a traditional therapy office, but man, I don't know if there is too many times a day for that. I need to do it more. My wife is way better about it than I am. As much as a believer as I am, I need to. I need to follow the prayer more. Some of the people on a fairly well-known one, and just because he's my homie and I trust everything that he says because he backs it up with resource, which is the way you should. I still don't do it right. It's good to see you too, Red. Thank you. I did that pretty early, like five. I did that pretty early, like five. At least I wasn't having to spend money on after sundown, the Shabbat. So I got there. I'm like, you know what? That's cool. I'm sure that they'll have food. They always do. They always take care of you. And I got there on the Day of Atonement, which I had forgotten or didn't realize, I guess, is I don't think it's a requirement, but it's, obviously the day of putting aside the things that get between you and Yah. So it's 24 hours of fasting, which I've actually never done in my life. I don't know if you can tell by the bone structure of my face. I'm not a faster. I'm a massive protein eater. Easy lines. Uh, um, my job's to grow muscle, not lose it. So, so I decided, like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna honor what they're doing down here, and I'm gonna do it. I was like, but if I get to midday the next day, the Day of Atonement, like my sugar's dropping or I'm hurting because I never fasted before, I was just gonna have to apologize, take care of myself. I actually made it the full 24 hours. Now, with that being said, we're sitting out in front of the fob, and um, I know everybody that follows the Torah has a different interpretation on sundown, whether it's all the way down, whether it touches the horizon, whether it's. And I'll tell you, man, I was sitting at the fob watching. I'm like, that sun better touch that horizon soon. Holy crap, man! I was not doing as well at the end. It definitely did for me what it was supposed to do that day, but. Oh shit. Yeah. Yeah, it was good to see you too. Dealing with the state entities is indeed a pain in the butt. Good to see you in Lions if you're not already gone. Love you too, brother. Oh, a blood moon tonight. That'll be cool. It was orange. During sunrise, it was super orange. Monday, Tuesday, maybe? Tuesday or Wednesday morning. So I'll have to watch for that tonight. You always know that stuff, though, man. I swear I get half my weather reports from you. I don't think that's you sucking big adventure. I think sometimes stress and shit goes so much on top of us that even a what feels like a unsafe or different kind of break is still a break, man. Well, I definitely afflicted my being, that's for sure. Hmm. Go ahead, I'm live, but go ahead. What do you need? Oh, that's fine. Sorry. Um, yeah, I did afflict my being, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, it seems weak to say that, but that's what it took, as somebody that's done crazy things before, but because that'd be awesome. That's right, Bill. I did the same thing, man. Absolutely did the same thing. I do not like big C Christian churches. I don't think they actually teach the word. So I studied myself right out of it too. And the only reason I even wandered back is because um, something's out there, and I sucked at prayer too. Don't worry. Um, but when you read it for what it actually says, man, the pieces start to fit. Man, the pieces start to fit. And I actually found actual good people that knew what they were talking about. So that made a big difference for me. That's interesting, Lions. Clearly, I don't fast then because I got plenty of fat. PT, I'm a licensed psychotherapist. Licensed psychotherapist. I've got one doctorate in counseling. I'm actually in the middle of a second doctorate in trauma informed care, where I'm focusing on the neuroscience of PTSD and changes in the brain, which is why the title, wherever it says it on this, the title is something I created called NeuroTrauma Project. So I'm actually sitting here working on the website. I'm not doing very well, but yeah, and that's definitely what we did, farmer. Well, I mean, you know who I was with, so of course we did. And man, that the Midrush turned into a really cool discussion. And because it was a deployment, grindstone deployment, as opposed to like just a group of friends being together, there's a lot of people that absolutely don't believe, and so they had some awesome questions. And I'm no scholar when it comes to that. I try to be the scholar of the trauma side, but man, there were some really neat questions. I actually just heard Bear talking about it. I had been in Arkansas this week where we were, talking about some of the really cool questions that were coming out. Yep. One day, one step, one word at a time, knowing you're still going to screw up. Thank goodness for forgiveness. Now, don't forget, it doesn't say blind forgiveness. You actually have to repent, but that's a whole nother video. Cool. Please do. Productions, please do. All right. I'm almost an hour in. One of my best friends in the world has his live going on in about 30 minutes. So um, if you're part of his Patreon, you'll know that already. Big adventure you just described. A lot of people like myself and that follow me, man. I don't fit in very well. I don't go to counseling conferences unless I'm speaking, and then I immediately leave because I think they're a bunch of dang weirdos that just want to pat you on the back. You actually, I can tell you 2 or 3 people on this chat right here that feel like they don't fit into a war. You're exactly right, Lions. That's why I had to go back to, man. Big C Christian Church jacked me up. Teach me a bunch of crap that they can't even prove. Cherry picking verses. Disgusting. You start in the beginning. Highly recommend you read the first 5 books. This was given to me by a very good friend of mine just recently. I highly recommend read a chapter a day of the first 5 books, and then either repeat that or then read the Gospels. You'll see it in an entirely different viewpoint. And yes, we try to fit our Elohim. So Rex comment. Rex is great though. I missed the Rex thing. If I can only tell you how tiny these